Come on in, everyone. Come on in. My name is Deborah, and we are here today doing a review on the interview that Little Black Book Kojo did with Patricia. Y'all, Lord have mercy. What the hell was that? Did y'all watch the interview? If y'all didn't watch the interview, you can listen to my recap here, but you also can go back and listen to the interview on his channel. It was a good interview. I got to really give heads up to Kojo for keeping his cool during this interview, because I would have hung up on her. I would have made up an excuse. I'd be like, girl, I got to go wash my hair or something. I wouldn't have been able to sit there and listen to this. I don't even know what we're dealing with, y'all. I really don't even know what we're dealing with. What are we dealing with here in 2024? You know, when Patricia got let go, kicked off the show, I didn't have no problem with it. I thought she was the right person to leave. I thought that she was unhealed. You know, even at my first glimpse of her, one episode, a few seconds, a few minutes. But let me tell you, once I saw this interview, which is a full, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hour long interview, and nothing changed my mind. In fact, I said, not only did Patricia need to go, she shouldn't have even been here, period. Point blank. I said it. She shouldn't have even been here, point blank. She has this idea that she was let go because the producers have some type of scheme going on. They didn't really want her. Honestly, Patricia, you might have been the person they want to keep because you might have been good for TV, because you're darn near delusional. I could have had a whole lot of videos all season long about Patricia. Let me tell you something. There's no scheme to get rid of Patricia early because she might have been good for TV. She is out the box. These men didn't want her, and rightfully so. But she's confused. Like my thumbnail says, misdiagnosed, unaware, and tone deaf. That's what my thumbnail says. And I'm going to tell you why I say she's misdiagnosed, she's unaware, and she's tone deaf. And this is how I got to in all this whole interview. Like I said, first I said she was unhealed. Then immediately, I think maybe within the first, I want to say 20 minutes of the interview, I said, oh my gosh, she's misdiagnosed. And when I say that she's misdiagnosed, I'm saying because Patricia tells us that she is a people pleaser. This is what she tells us. It's the beginning, y'all. This is the beginning of the interview. I really don't have too much of an opinion. She tells us she's a people pleaser. I said, really? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't get that vibe from her on the show, but you know what? I'll listen to you, Patricia. Patricia says she's a people pleaser. So I don't know who diagnosed her as a people pleaser. I don't know if she's self-diagnosed or if a therapist has done it, because she says she's been to therapy. But something tells me it's self-diagnosed because Patricia calls herself Patricia Pretty. So I think Patricia gives herself a lot of labels. I do. I think she gives herself labels where maybe it's best that someone else describes her from the outside looking in, because I think Patricia has an image of herself that isn't always what other people see. Let me say it again. She has an image of herself that everyone else doesn't always see. And I think she thinks just because she says it and she thinks it, then that's all that's needed. You know, I say it, I think it, that's all that needed. I know we went through this. We've gone through this, giving girls, self-esteem. That's been a big thing in the last, 2 decades or so. Making sure women have a lot of self-esteem, right? Encouraging women to think, because, society will put women down. Society will make women think they can't do things. Society. And so there's a lot of programs out here in the world. There's a lot of encouragement of young girls. And I'm starting to think, y'all, that we've gone a little bit too far with the self-esteem of some women. I think what we're crossing over for some women, not all women, is actually unhealthy self-esteem. We're getting over into arrogance. We're getting over to the fact where some women are becoming so much self-esteem for themselves that they actually are very judgmental and they look down on other women and they call other women names, or there's something wrong with other women or even other people, period, and they elevate themselves. And I don't really understand why we have to put ourselves up here all the time over everybody else. Everybody else has got the problem. Everybody else is beneath me. Everybody else isn't living up to my caliber. What about maybe you're just not way up here as you think? Maybe you're right here too. And what's wrong with that? What's wrong with getting along with a group? What's wrong? That's why I know she's not a people pleaser, because at no point in time did Patricia put herself with the group to please other people. This whole interview was about pleasing Patricia. It wasn't about pleasing the group. Let me tell you, she talked about all these men so badly, from the rooter to the tutor. She didn't have too much good to say about the women. She talked about the men so badly. Now remember, this is the woman that left crying, who couldn't even compose herself when she was kicked off in the first episode. She was so distraught. She was so upset over being kicked off the show, being rejected by a bunch of men, that now she says she didn't even care about. She didn't even like. They was nothing to her. They were beneath her. But yet she's breaking down and crying. They tried to ask her, hey, why was you crying when you got kicked off? You know what her answer was? I had worked a long day. It had been 14 hours. By the time I got kicked off, it was 1 a.m. So what? People work grave shift all the time. Midnight shift, swing shift. People work 14 hours and get off work at 1 o'clock all the time. That don't mean they go home crying. What's the truth, girl? She goes, well, it is a form of rejection. There you go. Let's talk about that. Let's stop talking about the fact that you have worked 14 hours, because people do that every day. They don't go home broke down crying. Let's talk about the fact that maybe the reason why you were crying because it was rejection. And in your mind, you're elevated over all these people. She even said it in the show. She said in the show, wasn't nobody here for me. Then why are you crying over leaving a show when men didn't want you? You know why? Because she wants to say in her head, even though she may not want the man, what her ego was hurt is that the man didn't want her. See, that's the problem. When you think you're up here and you think all the minions are down here, and when the minions reject you, what do you say to yourself? You have to start trying to reconcile that maybe I'm not all that, but you don't want to reconcile that. You don't want to face that music. So you cry, you get distraught, you get upset. And then you come on here like a show like this interview, and you start talking about all the men and how the men were low level and how they're crumbs and they're not living up to her caliber and what they're not. And she's up here and she didn't want them anyway. Okay, girlfriend. Okay, girlfriend. Sure, if you want me to believe that, then I'm sorry. I'm not believing it. Like I said, misdiagnosed. She's not a people pleaser. She was not trying to please anyone through this whole interview. She wasn't even trying to please Kojo. Kojo was trying to tell her, that's how I get to later on calling her unaware and tone deaf. Kojo was trying to tell her in a real nice way, a whole lot nicer than I would. Like I said, I would have had to hang up. You know what your mama used to tell you? If you can't say nothing, don't say nothing at all. I would say, girl, Patricia, I got to get off the phone. Girl, I got to get off the phone. Because if you ask me a question, or if I have to state my opinion one more time and it's not in agreement with yours, I got to get off the phone. Kudos to Cujo. Cujo got a lot of patience. Like I said, he's the #1 interviewer out here in my book because he knows how to deal with people like this. I don't. Like I told you, I can be unprofessional. I can be impatient. I can't listen to it. I can't sit around and stay in delusion with people who, when they're delusional. I can't, especially when they're putting down people who are down here on level ground, when they've elevated themselves as if they are all that and everybody else is just mud and the gum on the bottom of their shoe. She calls herself Patricia Pretty, but let me tell you something. This personality that she got, this mindset that she has, when she tells everybody else that their mindsets are below her, the mindset is ugly. It's very, very, very ugly. So it doesn't matter if she's pretty on the outside, because all men are going to have to do is do exactly what they did on this Ready Love. And that is talk to Patricia for about 2 hours, and they're not going to want to have nothing to do with her. Absolutely not. I don't know what she thinks her dating problems are. I'm sure she's blaming it on everybody else out here. But I'm telling you right now, it is 80% on her. Period. Point blank. 80%. 80%. The way Jonathan handled her and what Jonathan said about her was absolutely correct. People can call Jonathan judgment on all he wants to, but he was absolutely correct by turning around and walking away from this woman. Absolutely. Kojo tried to ask her, hey, how's your dating overall experience been? People in dating, you've had some good parts, you've had some bad parts. That's what you would expect to hear. But Patricia said she outgrew everybody she dated with. What? You outgrew everybody? That's the cause of all the demises of your relationship, that you outgrew them. Once again, elevation. See, she thinks she's a people pleaser, but I'm going to tell you what Patricia is. She's actually an opportunist. Patricia's actually an opportunist. She's actually not a people pleaser. I don't even know where she got people pleaser from. I think it's vogue now. I think it's in vogue. We dealt with this on Ready to Love, Make a Move with Zadia. Zadia was calling herself a giver. She's always giving, always sacrificing. Patricia's over here calling herself a people pleaser. I see it a lot in some of these cast members on different shows. I think it's in vogue to call yourself a giver or a people pleaser. And what I want to tell you, what I figured out with a lot of these people is they're really actually selfish people, really masked. You see, how do I get there? How do I get from a person saying that they're a people pleaser to me right now, Deborah, saying, no, actually what they are, they're opportunists and they're selfish people. And let me tell you why I say that. I'm going to say that they're selfish and opportunists because of where they start. You see, let me tell you something. You can paint the picture that you are a people pleaser and that you're a giver depending on where you start. Remember, I told you guys, relationships are about negotiation. I've been talking about this. I've been talking about that everyone is going to settle when it comes to picking a mate. Nobody wants to hear that. You know who the people who really don't want to hear about settling typically are the selfish people, because selfish people don't want to give up nothing. They always want everything they want. They never want to compromise. They never want to, not be selfish. So I think what happens is over time, these people have told these people, you're selfish. You only think about yourself. This is what people have told them. So then what I think they do, a lot of them, not everybody, what they do is they go out and create a new persona. And their new persona is, I'm a people pleaser and I'm not going to settle. Okay, first of all, let's dissect that. What do you mean you're a people pleaser? Well, I give people things. What they're saying is they give people things that they don't think that they should have to give people, that they give it to them because they're trying to please the people. Well, let's start from your beginning, because there is a beginning. The beginning is that we all are supposed to contribute. We are a society. We are a community. We are always supposed to give to the pot. But when you have selfish people actually think that they can participate in community, they can be in relationships, and they cannot give anything, nothing, zero, zip. So think about it. Let's say you come into a relationship and the fake people pleaser, that's what I'm gonna call them, fake people pleaser, come to the relationship. Now remember, the fake people pleasers don't want to give anything, zero. That's where they're coming in. I don't want to pay nothing for this. So then when you come and you understand that it's community, that's a partnership, you say, well, I'm going to go ahead and ante up my whatever, my little bit of amount. And then the people pleaser comes in and says, well, I don't want to give nothing. And you're like, well, wait a minute. It's a community. We're a partnership. I give, you're supposed to give. That's what it's supposed to be like. They're like, no, I don't want to give nothing. They have a whole list. They don't want to settle. Remember, they don't want to settle. They want everything they want. So eventually, maybe the people pleaser, in order to stay where they are, because they want something from you. They do want something from you. So the person over here that's put in, if they're smart, they actually have to draw boundaries around these fake people pleasers. You know why? Because the fake people pleasers will want to come to the table and not give anything. So the reason why people like Patricia Pretty start to believe as if they're people pleasers is because initially they wanted to come to the group and do nothing. Nothing, zero, very little. Or sometimes they want to do a whole lot less than everybody else. So now when they're forced to do anything, they're forced to give anything. You know what they've just called themselves? A people pleaser. Because I didn't really want to do it, but I did it to please you. But that's not really who you are. You're not a people pleaser. A people pleaser typically gives more than what's required of them. A people pleaser typically goes beyond what really should be even expected of them. They typically go above and beyond and give more. But we've got a bunch of people out here now talking about their people pleasers because initially they don't want to do anything. They don't want to settle. They don't want to compromise. So when they give anything, even the smallest little bit, they call themselves a people pleaser because what has happened is they've been forced to give something that they never want to give. So now they said, look at me, I'm a people pleaser. Patricia's not a people pleaser. She did not try to please Kojo in this interview. She did not try to respect his opinion. She didn't even want him to have an opinion. She wanted her opinion to be number one. She wanted hers to live. He couldn't even express himself. He couldn't even have a thought as a man. Same thing with her castmates that she talked about, the men. She wasn't trying to please them because let me tell you something. They are not pleased if they listen to this interview. Who would be pleased listening to this woman talk about these men the way she did? She pleased no one. You know who she pleased? Herself. She pleased and fed her own ego this entire interview. She's not a people pleaser. She's an opportunist. And I'm probably going to go a lot further and say she's probably a selfish person. I really do believe it. This woman said not only did she outgrow men in her relationships because she outgrew them, she said she's outgrown a lot of friendships too because their mental wasn't where her mental is. This is not the life of a people pleaser. These aren't the moves that people pleasers make. I'm gonna tell you that right now. It's not the moves that they make. And let me tell you the danger in misdiagnosing yourself, because when you come to a union, a group, and you always come from the mindset of you're the people pleaser up front, even though you really aren't, then that makes you hold strong in your position even more, which makes it even further more difficult for you to get along. That's why she was going back and forth with Kojo in the interview. No man would want to go back and forth with her. I'm telling you, not even that many women would want to go back and forth with you. But when that's your mindset, it's like a deficit mindset. It's almost as if you don't have any more to give. So you are holding your position so strongly because you don't want to give up anything to this sort of compromise. Even in a discussion, this girl did not want to get up off of any position she had. She didn't even want to open her mind to what Kojo might have been saying. She didn't want to release it. This goes back to the guardedness that she says she doesn't have. What she's protecting is she's protecting her image of herself, her own image. So when she says she's not guarded, she absolutely is guarded. She's guarded in all of this. And when you try to force her to give something to a conversation, give some thought to another person's point of view, give anything, what she says is you're trying to extract from me. And if I give it to you, I don't want to give because I'm a people pleaser. You're not a people pleaser. You're exactly what people said. You're guarded. I'm going to tell you, you're selfish. You don't think about the union. You think about yourself. It's about protecting yourself. It's about protecting what you think of yourself. It's about protecting your entire mindset. And when that mindset is jarred at any point in time, that's why she broke down, because that mindset was jarred. When they were interviewing her after she got eliminated, her mindset was jarred. Someone tried to poke through that veil she has of herself, that image, and she couldn't take it and she broke down. She even said that she cussed out the lady, the producer. She had said that. Someone showed it to me on another interview she did with, I think, another YouTuber, Aubrey or someone. She said she cussed out the producer in the after interview. You know why? She goes, oh, you're not going to get that out of me. That's what she said. She said that on the Kojo interview. She cussed out the producer and said, you're not going to get that out of me. The interviewer know I'm emotional, and she was trying to draw that out of me in the interview, but I wasn't going to let her get that out of me. So I cussed her out. There you go. Guarded. You didn't want the producer to get to the real you. You want to keep up this facade that you a people pleaser and that you got all this self-esteem and that you're Patricia pretty. And you drink water every 2 seconds in your big old pink cup. I don't know what's going on with that. I've been talking here for 18 minutes, still ain't need a drink of water. But she needed one to quench that dry throat every 2 seconds. You know why? You know why? Because sometimes the lies scratch your throat when they come out. And you need to wet your palate. That's what happens. That's what happens when you're regurgitating things that aren't really a part of your soul. It's the image you want to present. It's what you want to tell the world. But let me tell you, it's not even who you are. And it's not even who the world sees you. Let me tell you another reason why I know she's not a people pleaser, because she started talking about, I don't even know why I went home. I was asking all the right questions. Really? What were the questions you were asking? Because the questions I saw you asking were not good questions, but maybe they cut something out. So go ahead, Patricia Pretty. Tell me about some new questions you were asking. Well, one of the questions I said, well, what are you going to do to make a woman safe? That ain't a good question. What am I going to do for you? I thought you was the people pleaser. I thought you was the people pleaser. I thought you'd be running around trying to make me feel good. You the people pleaser. That's what you told me. But no, let's talk about it. You're not the people pleaser. Like, once again, you're the opportunist. You're the one over here willing to extract from me. So let's go with your question as an opportunist and a taker. So I can tell you what I'm going to give you to make you feel comfortable and safe. First of all, here's my answer to you. I don't need to do anything because I'm not a lion and I'm not a predator. So I don't need to do anything different than walk out my house. Listen, you're not a white woman and I'm not a black woman and you're not a Karen, and I don't need to do anything to make you feel safe in the elevator. I don't need to come in the elevator with you, Patricia Pretty, and do anything different than I do with anyone else because I don't owe you anything more. But once again, when you're a person out in the world and you think people should give you stuff, people owe you stuff because you're up here and we're down here, you always think that we are beholden to you, that we've got to give you something. Nope. I'm going to walk in the elevator with you, Patricia Pretty. I'm going to take you out on a date, Patricia Pretty, like I do all the other women. And I'm not going to do anything special extra to make you feel safe. You know why? Because I'm not a predator. I'm not an evil person. So I don't need to do anything extra for you. And I don't know why you asking me to do something extra. What am I do to make you feel safe? Why don't you do something first, Patricia Pretty? Why don't you come to this group, this union, this date, this whatever, healed? You see, because you're unhealed. It's just like a white woman in the elevator. You're unhealed. I don't need to do nothing different as a black man. Why is it my requirement? Why don't you not come in this elevator with all your biases and all your fear? Why is it my job to do something for you? That's Patricia Pretty coming to dating, talking about what you're going to do to make me feel safe. No, why don't you, before you get in this elevator with me as a black man, or even as a black woman, let's be real, go heal yourself, go figure out your own shit. And in the meantime, take the stairs. Don't get in the elevator. That's what I'm going to do to make you feel safe, Patricia Pretty. I'm going to tell you, don't get in the elevator with me. Take the damn stairs. So once again, the people pleaser isn't coming to the group looking to please the other person, isn't looking to come to make someone else comfortable. The people pleaser, the fake people pleaser, is coming to the group asking what you going to do for them. Girl, bye. Another question that she asked, that she said was a good question, is, are you ready to love? She said, what makes you ready to love? Boom. You're not a people pleaser. Because a people pleaser will come in talking about a whole lot of other stuff. But once again, what makes you ready to love? She up here, you down here. Now prove to her how you ready. And she said, I wasn't pleased with the answers. The answers they were giving me weren't even good answers. Girl, she said she used to be a tech recruiter, interviewing people for jobs. So maybe that's what she thought she was, an interviewer, where these people are coming to apply for a job with her. First of all, fake people pleaser, Patricia, my answer to you is, what makes me ready to love? Well, maybe I'm not ready to be loved by you. I haven't even decided if I want to be loved by you. So you're right. That's a premature question. Because to be ready to be loved, I have to decide I want to be loved by you. And right now, I don't want to be loved by you. So yeah, I'm not ready to be loved. Not by you, I'm not. There's your answer. But once again, you're coming to a union, a group, a meeting with this superior attitude. What makes you ready to love? Inherently, in that question of what makes you ready to love is a statement where she's making that she's ready to love. That's what she's doing. Inherently in saying to a person in this environment, what makes you ready to love, she's actually saying to herself, what makes you ready to love, because I already know I am. Once again, superiority, the other person is down here. So now, once again, she ain't in a people-pleasing mode. She's in the mode of, what do you need to come up to my level? Like she says, the girlfriends aren't on her level. The boyfriends aren't on her level. None of these men are on her level. Maybe the problem isn't the level that all these other people are on. Maybe the problem is the level that you're on, Patricia. You ever think about that? You ever think that you're the problem and everyone else isn't a problem? No, she wouldn't think about that, because that would be too much of a crush to her ego. She said she was the only one taking this show seriously. That's why she got kicked off. Once again, elevation. Everybody else wasn't taking it seriously. The producers weren't taking it seriously. The men weren't taking it seriously. Women weren't taking it seriously. She went in on Patrice. She went in on her, talking about she's just out here for a good time. No one's taking it seriously but Patricia. Elevation. we're all just frivolous people down here. And here's Patricia up here, elevation, with her pretty pink Patricia, elevation. We're just minions down here, not taking it seriously. All other 19 people of this group didn't take it seriously. Just Patricia. Just Patricia. She went on and on talking about how much she liked Chaz. Chaz would be the one that I would want to go out with. Chaz went to church. Chaz has been in therapy. Chaz. She must have mentioned Chaz's name 20 times. But you know what I didn't hear from Chaz? He didn't mention her not one time. Not a one time. She wasn't even on her top list. On his top list. Not at all. His top choices were Sheena and Vanessa. Nowhere in there was it Patricia. But you know what? Could Patricia accept that she wasn't on Chaz's top list? Nope. She couldn't. She blamed it on the producers. She couldn't even accept that none of these men chose her. She couldn't even accept the rejection. She had to blame the rejection on the producers. It was the producers' fault. They sat here and wanted to get rid of her. They have an agenda. She's convinced herself of it. I mean, we all know that the producers do things, but the level of which Patricia believes that she was sabotaged in this dating show is ridiculous. It's just more in line with what she thinks of herself. She's up here, everybody's down here, and there's absolutely no way she would go home first because let me tell you, she's the cream of the crop, according to her. She says she wants a man to create a space so she can be vulnerable. Once again, people pleasers try to create comfortable spaces for other people. That's why they're called people pleasers. But the fake people pleaser, Patricia, says, what are you going to do to create a space for me to be vulnerable? So now she's blaming all her guardedness. Like I said, she is guarded. She's blaming all her guardedness because you didn't create a space for her to let the wall down. Once again, you need to do something. She's up here, you're down here. You're the one missing the mark. So when she isn't vulnerable, when she doesn't want to listen, when she wants to be tone deaf, you know who the problem is? You're the problem. She's not the problem. You're the problem. Because you didn't create a space for her to be vulnerable. It's not that she needs to do more work. You do. You need to do more work on learning how to create the safe space for her. You see what I'm saying? You need to do it, not her, but she's the fake people pleaser. What about what I've talked to you about so far makes her a people pleaser? Patricia hasn't done nothing for no one. In every conversation that she's having, I'm still trying to figure out, girl, when do you do something? Because right now, everything is about what everybody else should be doing. And when anyone else asks you for anything, you call them names and tell them that they're down here and you're up here. You don't want to do shit. Nothing. You ain't here to please anyone. You are here to please your own ego, feed your own ego, and feed your own delusion. You getting happy, fat, and drunk off your own delusion. She even said, I want a man to make me feel a certain kind of way. Oh, good Lord. Can you imagine being in a relationship with a person who makes you responsible for all their feelings? She says, Kojo asked her, what are some of your best relationships? She says, well, I really haven't had none because none of the men made me feel a certain kind of way. Once again, she says she hasn't really had any good relationships because none of the men that she's ever been in a relationship has ever made her feel a certain kind of way. First of all, if you are in a relationship and you're giving up all your feelings and emotions to the person you're with, that's a problem. But that goes in line with who Patricia is. Patricia wants you to do all the work. All the work. To say that you've been in a relationship and none of the men have made you feel a certain kind of way. First of all, you're in charge of your feelings and your emotions. You're in charge of those. And when you give away all that power, when you give all the power of your emotions, everything about you to another person, one is two things. One is you can sit and blame them every time you have a negative emotion, right? And one other thing is you can take no ownership of it and then you never have to do anything. Do people cause us sadness? Yes, they do. Do people cause us sorrow? Yes, they do. Can people make us angry? Yes, they can. Yes, they can. That's how it can begin. But at any point in time, you're supposed to be able to take your power back, take over control of your own emotions, figure out how to wiggle out of a space that person has put you in, and then you move into a new space. So this idea that men have never made her feel a certain kind of way, I believe it's another situation where Patricia, once again, is looking for everyone to please her. She's actually the person wanting to be pleased. She keeps calling herself a people pleaser, but I think it goes back to she doesn't get what she wants. So in a lot of ways, what she feels is she settled for something she didn't want. See, imagine you want this all the time. Imagine you want more, but imagine people only give you this. So what you feel is if I've pleased this person by taking less than what I want. That's what I'm a people pleaser. That's what she thinks a people pleaser is. A people pleaser is a person who really wants this for their life or wants this, whatever it could be. I want 5 of these things. But even though I want 5, you only give me 4, then I pleased you. I'm a people pleaser. I had to settle and take 4 when the reality is everybody else only got 3. Everybody else only got 3. But you say, well, so what about everybody else? I wanted 5. I don't want to have to compromise. She talked about this tumultuous relationship she had with her mother. It's so interesting. She talks about how she was rebellious. Once again, I ain't a people pleaser, fighting with your mother all the time. Most people pleasers was busy trying to please their mamas all the time. No, she fought her mother all the time. She said it. She said she was rebellious. She was argumentative. Her and her mama didn't even get along. She even told a story of her mama was trying to give her something. Once again, give her something. And then Patricia didn't want it. Patricia didn't feel like it was enough. Her mother said she should be happy and take it. That's what her Caribbean mama told her. Patricia said, no, I want more. And that was the problem that she used to have with her mother. So the problem is she's describing a situation where you're not the people pleaser, Patricia. You're actually the one wanting to be pleased. You're actually spoiled. Your mother is trying to tell you to accept this, but you don't want to accept it for your life. You've said it. What people give you, you never want to accept. You don't want to accept what the friendships of the women give you. You don't want to accept what men give you. You don't want to accept what your mama give you. Everybody else is the problem. You're not the problem. You're not the problem, but you are. All these stories she starts to tell, in every story, she's not the people pleaser in the story. She tells another story at work. She tells the work, I think at one time they were talking about how is it being a black woman in tech. I'm a black woman in tech. I know that space very, very well. I know about being the only black woman at work. I know about being the only black person at work. First of all, she just got into the tech space. She said she only got her degree to get into the tech space, I think, since 2020. So once again, like I said, opportunist. Patricia sounds like she's into new money. It sounds like she just elevated her life with her career because she got into the tech space, and that space pays very well. She said during COVID 2020, she got a COVID degree online. And then she got a degree that allowed her to become a tech recruiter in 2020. Ironically, this is the same time that she stopped being friends with a woman for 15 years. Opportunist. But anyway, she's in a new tech space. She says at work, she doesn't want to have to code switch. People pleasers code switch. You know why? Because people pleasers want to get along with a group. People pleasers want to get along in a group. They do. They code switch. They actually just code switch anywhere. But Patricia said, you know what? It's like a microaggression. Why should I have to code switch at work being like a woman in tech? First of all, Patricia, it ain't just the white people asking you to code switch. It's the black people too, because I'm black and I'm asking you to code switch. I'm asking you to tone this down. She says at work, people at work tell her she can be too aggressive, too assertive, too dogmatic in her thinking, but she blames it on the white people. It says it's white people who want her to code switch. She should be able to be who she is as this black woman. Well, I'm here as a black woman, Patricia, and I'm telling you, I want you to code switch too, because I don't like it either. Now what's the problem? Now when a black person is telling you the same thing, Kojo tried to tell her the same thing. Your tone is abrasive. Your tone is a problem. She had a problem with Kojo. Well, that's your problem, Kojo. That's if you think that way, think that way. People at work are telling her that. She ain't gonna move up. She is not gonna move up and work because she's tone deaf. She doesn't listen. She says she's out here trying to get herself a mentor, a coach or a mentor or something to help her in her career so she can move up. She's probably starting to get stale, stagnated. She's probably not getting promoted because people have figured out who she is even at work. She's dogmatic. She doesn't listen. She ain't a people pleaser. People pleasers get promoted. You know why? Because people pleasers do what the boss wants them to do. People pleasers be getting promoted sometimes. Sometimes they get run over. They do get run over too. But a smart people pleaser, if they work it the right way, they actually get promoted because they're looked upon as a team player. I'm not gonna get into all the office politics because there's some good things and bad things about that as well. But I'm gonna tell you right now, Patricia's not a team player. Her whole speech is not about pleasing people. It's about pleasing herself. She sat on here and said she doesn't even want to get along with a group. I don't want to have to code switch. I want to just be able to come to work and do whatever I want to do. I don't even do that at work. What's wrong with code switching? What's wrong with switching up so that you speak in a language that everybody else can understand and that your message can be received and you can be successful? Why would I go to work and talk like I do on these YouTube videos with y'all and people be like not even understanding what I'm talking about? What's wrong with that? I code switch when I come home. I don't talk with my husband the way I talk at work. I code switch as a wife. I code switch at work. I code switch as a wife. I code switch as girlfriends. I code switch. What's wrong with getting along with a group, Patricia? You're not a people pleaser. You're about pleasing yourself, doing what you want to do. You're actually not looking to please no one else. You're not looking to make anyone else comfortable. You're looking to make yourself comfortable. That's why she won't never want to settle, right? Because she won't want to get along with anyone. She'll want to come in elevated, everybody down here, and she'll keep asking you how you going to raise your game to be where she is. And if you don't raise your game, she going to quit you. She going to quit this job she got pretty soon because she ain't going to get promoted on the job. And then she going to start calling them racist. And then she's going to say she's going to go to another job so she can do better over on that job. Somebody going to hire her because she talks real good. She talks real good in the beginning. Everything sounds really good. Then after a while, you realize, damn, this girl is all about herself. This is a badass hire. This is a badass hire. Every time Kojo tried to put any responsibility on her, any type of accountability on her, well, what did you do to make your relationships end? She couldn't come up with nothing. That's when she had to take a drink of her water. When the questions came back on what about you, what could you do differently, what did you do wrong, what different steps could you have taken, that's when she had to take a drink of her water. But when it was about talking about somebody else, she was free flowing. She didn't need no water, no nothing. She could just talk. When it was all about how dusty everybody else is, how the caliber's down here, how she's up here, how she don't want to have to code switch, how she outgrew all her boyfriends, she outgrew her girlfriends. She could talk. But the minute you ask her a question about what about you, what do you want to do differently, what could you have done differently this whole episode, this whole season, She told another fake people pleasing story about her girlfriend. Supposedly she had been friends with this girlfriend for a long time. She said that she's a people pleaser, but her friend was conflict avoidant. Well, wait a minute. Typically, people pleasers are conflict avoidant. They don't want no conflict. They really don't. They don't want no conflict. So wait a minute. You the people pleaser, but you enjoyed the conflict? Wait a minute, Miss Patricia Pretty. Wait a minute. Tell me the story. Let me hear the story. Well, the story goes that she was in business with the friend. Remember, she's saying that she's the people pleaser. She was in business with this friend. They had an Airbnb business. Something about buying a couch for the Airbnb business. And then something happened with the couch. Missed delivery, delivered wrong. Something went wrong. You know, you got to call customer service. So the friend called customer service. And I guess they gave her the runaround. Didn't resolve the problem. We've been there before, right? We've been calling customer service and they give you the runaround. Well, the friend gave up. The friend accepted less. The friend settled. But Patricia said, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not going to accept this. Good, Patricia. See, here's the example of where it's good Patricia stood up for herself. It's good that Patricia took over that situation and called the UPS Amazon people, right? And said, hey, we need this couch. But here's the problem I have. I don't have the problem with what Patricia did. I have the problem with Patricia misdiagnosing herself. Because actually in this environment, what the friend did was the friend didn't want to have conflict with UPS. She's probably more the people pleaser. The friend didn't want to have conflict, so she backed off. Patricia, who's not afraid of conflict, like I said, Patricia's not afraid of asking for what she thinks she deserves up here, right? You may tell her this is all you get for the money you spend, but Patricia wants this. Patricia wasn't afraid to go back in and ask for more. So eventually Patricia was the one that had to solve the problem. But you know what Patricia came back around and said about her friend? I can't deal with her. Her mental ain't on my level. Once again, the friend was down here. She was up here. She didn't want to be friends with the girl no more. She dumped the friend because the friend was down here. She said, well, I realized all along that I was the one doing everything for my friend. I was a bartender. See, here's the problem. When Patricia and her friend were down here bartending, right, before she got this big tech job and was making good money, she was bartending. They was doing Airbnbs together, bartending. They was out here hustling, trying to make money, extra money. Ain't no problem with it. I ain't putting it down. But this is where she was. But then as she elevated and got her other degree and started making money, she told her friend, why didn't you even come to my graduation? You mean, what do you mean, your online COVID graduation? Or why didn't you fight for UPS? Why this? Why that? See, when they was down here struggling together, it was okay to be down here because Patricia was getting something from that girl. She was. That girl was helping her too, but Patricia don't want to admit it. That's why they was friends. But once Patricia elevated with this new tech job, she got her new fancy degree and she didn't have to bartend no more. And now she's moving to Texas from Florida. Guess what? She didn't need that friend no more. She didn't need her no more. Patricia's not a people pleaser. She's an opportunist. And she needs to see this about her. She's selfish. As long as she needs something from you, she may stay there with you. But the minute she starts to believe she's above you, she's elevated for you, she's not going to pull you up with her. She's going to leave you behind. She ain't a people pleaser. She's an opportunist. And that's the same thing she did with these men on the show. When in the beginning, she wanted to be on this show. When she got there, she saw some men that she liked. She liked Chaz. She probably liked some other men too. But once those men said, no, thumbs down, we don't want her, send her home. Now all of a sudden she's talking bad about you, talking about you low life, you the scum on the bottom of my shoe, you not on her level, you not on her caliber. That became her story. She said all these people were actors on here. She pretty much said everybody's an actor but her. No one's serious, everyone's an actor, blah, 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 blah. Patricia's up here, everybody else is down here. Everybody else are low lives. They're bad actors. They're not serious. They don't know how to ask the right questions. But Patricia, she's doing everything right. Everything right. Coach tried to ask her, hey, Patricia, do you think there's any possibility that because you felt this way about the men, let's go with the fact that this is the way you felt about the men. Can you give any credence, any thought to the possibility that because you thought this way, Patricia, about the men, that they really want your caliber, your type, let's go with that maybe they picked up on that energy. And maybe when they picked up on that energy, maybe that's what made them disconnect from you and not vote you to stay on the show. You ever think that's a possibility? You know what the fake people pleaser Patricia said? No, that's not the truth. Coach said, well, why not? Because sometimes, as men, we pick up on the truth. No, men don't do that. Men are simple. You got a man sitting right in front of you telling you this is the way a lot of men think. But what does she do immediately? Discount it. She discounts this man's point of view for her point of view. You know why? Because Kojo's point of view isn't going along with her narrative. Her narrative is that she was kicked off because of the producers. Her narrative isn't that she was kicked off because the man didn't want her. Remember, she just said she didn't want any of the men, but she can't even fathom the idea that the man didn't want her either. No, the narrative she wants is all the men wanted her, she didn't want them, and the only reason she was kicked off was because of the producers, and all the producers didn't listen to none of the men because all the men wanted her. Or a lot of them wanted her, but she didn't want them. And she's saying that even though she didn't want them, no man picked up on that energy. Not one man. Not one man. Why would not one man picked up on the energy that she don't even like them? Like I said, closed off, not even open to another idea. She's not a people pleaser. In fact, she's not even emotionally intelligent. Because emotionally intelligent people, one of the markers of an emotionally intelligent people is the ability to consider other points of views. And Patricia doesn't have the ability to consider anyone else's point of view but her own. And then what she does is she classifies herself. She misdiagnoses herself. She gives herself her own labels. Whatever she's come up with, Patricia Pretty, a people pleaser, she stamps herself that way. And no matter what anyone else tells her out in the world, her job, who tells her tone is a problem, her attitude is a problem. She said people at her job tell her, why does your face always look like that? She said one time a person told her that. Basically what she's saying is someone's told her she has RBF, resting bitch face. That's what someone told her. Now, sure, should they say that at work? No one should tell you that. But what she did was she called them the problem. She's never even considering that maybe you do have a bad countenance. She does. Whenever you're telling Patricia about herself, she don't like it. Look at her facial expressions. When she's talking about other people and how she's up here and down here, she's all smiles, laughs, giggles. She seems very charming. But the minute you want to tell her something about herself, the minute you want to tell her something you see in her, she goes back to that resting bitch face, RBF. I'm quite sure she got RBF at work a lot. A lot. She gonna get fired. Patricia, you gonna get fired from that job. And if you don't get fired, you ain't gonna get promoted. You think the problem is everybody else, it's yourself. You got the problem not only at your job, I can already see it. You got the problem in your relationships with men, and you got the same problem in your relationship with women. It ain't other people, Patricia. It's you. You better do something about it. You better do something about it. She said she wasn't supposed to get voted off. They said, well, who was? Well, I ain't gonna say. Delusion. Complete delusion. To protect. The wall of protection is to protect her delusion, her image of herself. She cannot allow any other image to come in. No one else's opinion, no one else's whatever. She's got to protect her own image of herself. She says, I wasn't even supposed to be voted off. Someone else got voted off. Now, do I know at the end of the show that what I've been told in the past is they give two names on the bottom. And then the producers sometimes do get the final say on who gets voted off. I have heard that. But that doesn't mean that the men didn't want you off. They gave the men the two bottoms. The two bottoms. So when she says she wasn't supposed to get voted off, that's not true. That's not true. Could the producers have been the one that chose between the bottom two? Yes. They could have been the one that chose between the bottom two, between Vanessa and her. I do believe that. I do believe that the real bottom two were Vanessa and her. And maybe the producers did make the final conclusion that it was going to be her. But that doesn't mean she wasn't supposed to be voted off. That's a completely different story. Her story she's telling is she shouldn't have even been on the bottom in the first place. She shouldn't have even been there. Because remember, she's up here. Everybody else is down here. She wanted Chaz. And because because we saw a connection between Chaz and Vanessa, she upset about it. She upset. She wouldn't even be friends with Vanessa. Odds are she ain't friends with Vanessa. Odds are she don't even talk to Vanessa. She talking about she made all these friendships with the women on the show. I don't believe it. Fake friendships, just like fake people pleasing. That's what I believe. Patricia can't be friends with too many people. No, because the minute you tell her about herself, she ain't gonna be your friend. The only way Patricia can be friends with you is if you're a people pleaser. Because you won't tell her about herself. You won't tell her the truth. You'll just go along with whatever she says. But the minute you speak up and say something, she gonna cut the friendship off. I already know who Patricia is. She gonna cut the friendship off. Every time Kojo tried to tell her what he was seeing in her, she says, well, I don't know what you see, but that ain't what it is. What? It is what he sees. You could say maybe that's not the way you want to come off. Maybe you could say that's maybe the way you don't see yourself, whatever. I don't care what you say, but you can't say that's not what it is. His eyes see what his eyes see. She can't even accept the opinion of what he thinks right now. She says, well, why are you beating it? Why are you beating it like a dead horse? Why are you poking at it? I'm thinking, man, maybe because he's trying to get you to understand his point of view, but you don't want to give him no understanding. You keep rejecting his point of view. So he is continually asking you, can you please listen to my point of view? She don't want to listen to it. So you actually got two people here in a situation. You have Kojo who's trying to be understood. You having Kojo who's trying to, hey, can you at least understand my point of view? Can you give me any kind of credence to it? And she's saying, no, I'm not giving you anything. Nothing. I'm not giving you anything. I'm not even going to please you and wanting to listen to what you have to say or giving your thoughts any consideration. Kojo is actually pleading with her. Can you listen? Can you see what I'm doing? She's got a stone wall up. No, it's going nowhere. Eventually, what does she say to Kojo? Why you keep poking at it? What? So now Kojo's the problem. You beating it like a dead horse. You're not going to get me to change my mind, Kojo. So why you keep asking me? She ain't a people pleaser. She said, well, just get through it because I want to resolve this. What do you want to resolve? Even Kojo had to take a step back and say, what do you mean resolve? Oh, no. Oh, no. Kojo wanted to be understood. But at this point in time, the people pleaser, what she's about to get to is what I told you from the very beginning. She's about to give in to Kojo, but she don't really want to give in to him. Did you see the defiance? Did you see the anger? See, this is why she thinks she's a people pleaser, because in this moment, Kojo wanted an agreement. Kojo wanted to be in community. Kojo wanted you to even just consider his point of view. He's asking for this from her. She doesn't want to give it. Finally, she's like, dang, fine, let's resolve this. And then later on, she'll call herself a people pleaser because she had to relent and maybe give Kojo a little bit of something. A little bit, a small little morsel of what he was asking for, and she'll run around saying Kojo was the badger, because he wasn't even asking for much but to be listened to. And she'll call herself a people pleaser because she didn't want to listen to a damn thing he said, but in the end she had to listen to a little bit. So now she's the people pleaser. I told y'all, I see it in motion. When you start from a position of not wanting to do anything, when you move from your little position of giving just a little bit, now you're the people pleaser. And now Kojo, who wasn't even asking for much, which was just to be listened to, now all of a sudden he's the problem. He's the problem. He's asking for too much. He was poking at me. See, that's how it looks. That's how it looks when you're an opportunist, when you're greedy, when you're selfish. Everybody else, what they're asking from you, it seems like a huge ask because you don't want to give nothing. But when you give just a little bit, you make yourself the people pleaser. Girl, get the hell out of here. Even Kojo asked her, do you think you learned anything from the show? She said no. She said no. He said, do you think you learned anything? She said, yeah, I learned something. That perception is not reality. What? That's not the same. The saying is that perception is reality. But according to her, it all makes sense. Perception, your perception, is not reality. Well, actually, the saying is reality, because what it's saying is the way I perceive you, it becomes my reality. It becomes my reality. But in her world in which she lives in, your perception, your opinion, your thought, the way you're seeing me has no bearing on anything. She doesn't even consider it. This is why she can't be in a union. This is why she can't be in a friendship. She can't be in a healthy partnership, because what she just said is your perception is not reality, and she can throw that down every single time. No matter what you think of her, no matter how you're experiencing her, what she'll always tell you is just because that's the way you're experiencing me doesn't make it true. It does actually. The way I experience you is my experience. It may not be the way you want to be. It may not be the way you want to be perceived. But in this moment, I'm actually telling you about my experience with you. So for you to say that my experience with you is not my reality, you just basically invalidated everything that's going on right here. You invalidated it. And once you invalidate something, you have no need to do anything different. Once again, you don't have to give a damn thing. You can sit over there and please your own ego, your own mindset, and you don't have to do anything to try and come in a union with anyone. She got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. I know they in Fort Worth, Dallas, Fort Worth, but Houston, we got a problem. She need to go get a new therapist, and she need to get a different one. She need to get one that's going to tell her the truth. And she may need to be crying in therapist every single week, because she needs to get herself a therapist who's going to tell her the truth about herself, because this girl is stuck in a world of delusion that's not going to lead her down the road to happiness. It's going to lead her down a road of broken relationships, broken friendships, broken relationships on jobs, broken relationships with men. Kojo tried to ask her when her last relationship was, and she couldn't even think of that, or longest. She said it was 3.5 years ago. She said it was 3.5 years, but it was a long time ago when she was young. She ain't been in no new relationship recently. She probably been in situationships, because nobody long term will be able to be with a person like her. Because the minute any type of conflict will come into the relationship, the minute she elevates herself here and puts you down here, it's going to be a problem. And the resolutions to those problems, she's not actually a contributor to them. She's not. She can't maintain a relationship. I don't think so. I don't think so at all. He asked her, what would you do differently? She said nothing. Wait a minute. You got voted off first. You were the first to go. You can't think of nothing to do differently, that maybe you could have made it to the second round. Nothing, no different conversation, nothing. Nope, I didn't do anything wrong. I don't need to do nothing differently. Like I said, the fake people pleaser. Fake people pleasers are always knowing what they could do differently. Fake people pleasers are always trying to figure out, I wonder how I could have done something different to make the situation better. Because they always try to think about how to please people, but not Patricia. He asked her, what could you have done differently, maybe to make other people more comfortable, make them like you more? She said nothing. Fake people pleaser. Girl, misdiagnosed, unaware, and once again, tone deaf. Good luck to you, Patricia. Good luck. Like I said, get another therapist, whichever one you got. That woman, that man is just taking your money. He's telling you what you want to hear. So you'll come back every week and hear what he wants you to say. But you need to get you somebody else. You need to get you somebody else. You need to get me some. You call me. I be doing some one-on-ones these days. You can call me, Patricia. Drop down. You book a session with me. I'm going to give it to you straight. But bring some tissue. Bring some motherfucking tissue. Because, girl, I'm going to make you cry. I'm going to make you cry. because you need some real hard truths. You really, really do. Anyway, that's it, y'all. Talk to you later. Bye.